cosmonaut was injured during an expo mission. The medical team at the ground control center evaluated the cosmonaut. The astronaut has a tension pneumothorax. The cosmonaut does not make it back to the ground alive on an emergency return flight. If the astronaut dies in space, the officials at the flight control center will be sentenced to prison. The only way to operate on an astronaut is in space, and operating in space in weightlessness. For the first time in human history, under the guidance of a ground surgeon, a companion performed a thoracentesis on the injured cosmonaut, temporarily relieving his breathing difficulties. Yania is an excellent thoracic surgeon. She and her teacher, Prof. Urek, were urgently invited to the space agency. They began to discuss and formulate a rescue plan. The astronauts must not die in orbit. On Earth, it's a simple operation. Any one of Prof. Urek's students could perform it. It's going to be a challenge to get into the space station to perform the operation. The progress of mankind begins with every attempt. Yania and 7 male doctors were tested by the space agency. However, 7 male doctors failed the test. Yania passed the test. She was selected for the mission. Dr. Yania will be sent into space to operate on astronauts. It's the first time humans have operated in weightlessness. After 3 minutes of flight, the spacecraft has successfully entered the orbit. Dr. Yania has successfully entered the space station. She immediately examines the astronaut in detail. The astronaut needs surgery immediately, but in the weightlessness of space, everything is floating in the air. Yania glued the instrument she needed to the walls. She transformed a makeshift dining room table into a simple operating table. The other two astronauts were responsible for sterilization. Before the operation, Yania rested for 2 hours in her sleeping bag. The astronauts were immobilized on an improvised operating table. The other two cosmonauts acted as temporary assistants to Yania. Yania had to change into a surgical gown. Before she could do her job, she also had to wear special shoes that could be fixed to the floor. Finally, she'll be able to communicate with the ground. The ground can see straight through the operation. The endoscope reveals that the astronaut's lungs have developed adhesions that need to be removed, but it's impossible to perform such an operation in space. The ground control center had to arrange a return flight. Returning means that the astronaut will not survive. Dr. Yania wanted to try again. This is a surgical procedure performed in the space station. Dr. Yania operates on the astronauts with a simple tool made of a spoon and wire. She's removing fibers from the astronaut's lungs. The leaders of the ground control center are very nervous. If a cosmonaut dies in space, the head of the flight control center will be sent to prison. If the astronauts don't have surgery in space, they won't make it back to the ground alive. The head of the flight control center had to take a gamble with Yania. Good news, Yania succeeded in removing the first piece of fiber. After some time, the last fiber was removed. The operation was completed successfully. After the rescue was completed, Yania got a closer look at the space station. For the first time, she was able to see the Earth from space. The cosmonauts assisted Yania in a spacewalk. 12 days later, the recovered astronauts and Yania returned to Earth in a return capsule. The moment she stepped out of the capsule, Yania received a warm welcome. Yania is the first surgeon to perform an operation in space. The movie is also the first live-action filming of mankind in space. It gives the audience a sense of the mystery and vastness of space.